In just a second here, you guys are going to see a video of an interview I did with Stacey. She is one of our black belts here, and she took on an Action Heroes project to be the main chairperson over the full St. Edward's fundraising banquet, and that was a 2-year commitment, so she went through the whole process twice. During that time, she was also building a new home, and her husband had some health concerns and some surgery all during that time frame. And of course, she still has her 2 sons and works. and so Stacey's a lady who's got a lot to be really proud of, and she's also very humble. So I just wanted to sort of overview that she took on a really big project. From what I can tell, did an excellent job and left the whole operation better off for her having been involved with it. And for those of you who aren't familiar, an Action Heroes project is something we do within the martial arts school here, and the idea behind it is to be heroes through our actions rather than solving problems through violence, and to engage in some leadership development and some service in the community as part and parcel of that. So I hope there's some wisdom and value for you in listening to what Stacey says. How cool is that? And what are we talking about today?
The St. Edward's Catholic Schools Dinner and Auction.
Okay, and so that was part of your Action Heroes project.
I learned, I guess I hadn't done anything like that previously, probably because of the fear of the responsibility. And now having that pass and 2 successful dinners, a feeling of accomplishment, of having worked well with a lot of different people, whereas before I think there was a lot of conflict, and I didn't feel much conflict as I was going through. I mean, we had bumps, but not fights and conflicts. And a gratefulness for other people and all that they do, and just knowing that it wasn't me that did the dinner.
Sure.
Just the appreciation of all the people that worked on it.
I
was approached by some moms that I knew were really involved with the dinner auction, and they asked me if I would be interested in being the chairperson of the solicitors. And I thought about it for a few days and found out what the job was, and said I would do it with a lot of help. And so I continued to do that job for about 6 years. And as parents come and go, jobs change, and they were looking for the chairperson for the next coming year, and nobody was saying that they were going to do it. And the secretary, actually, Corey Harper, was telling me that you should do it. You should do it. And I'm like, I don't know. And so finally, I talked to Chris about it, my husband, and thought that it would be something that we could all live through. It starts right then. This was in the spring. The dinner had just ended, and I got the book. There's the binder of information from the chairperson that was ahead of me, and she gave me the rundown. You know, during the summer, you need to be doing this, getting the logo and the theme and the trips for the raffle ticket. And so through the summer, I was doing stuff. In the fall, you're already busy doing stuff, even though the dinner's not until February or April. So I start calling people for the chair people, to be the chair people, and again, grateful that they would sign up again, because they knew their area. And I'm like, just like last year, you know, we made a few changes and tweaks and updated some things, and I'm glad I'm done. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's very honest.
At first, it was hard to let go.
Mm-hmm.
Like whoever's in charge, you know, we actually had to interview people for this year.
Don't kill my baby.
Right, I know. We had 3 people that we were going to interview. We only ended up interviewing 2, and still, it's like, I don't know if they can do it. but then I'm like, who thought I could do it? I didn't think I could do it. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't even think
about the first year. We're 30 days out of that first year.
Stress.
Okay, there. So tell us about the stress.
The stress of, are you going to have? Well, 30 days out, we'll have most of our items. Now we're scrambling to put things together. In packages, the person that's writing the book needs to know what's together so she can write her creative little bits for the book.
It's like for the auction.
Yes, for the auction booklets. And just making sure the decoration people are on board, and, you know, double checking with the auctioneers, make sure we're still on their schedule, and the dishes, and, you know, you have the rundown 7 days out, call for the dumpster out back. I mean, it's down.
So a lot of details.
Yeah, a lot of details.
A lot of details, and they all matter.
I think the martial arts just helped with self-confidence all around, to help with all of those, be able to speak with different people, not get upset when you don't hear what you want to hear, and just planning and thinking ahead and just organizing. I think all that.
It's helpful.
Yes.
Gotcha.
The second time was much nicer. Luckily for me, I had most of the same chair people. I did have a big switch with the bar. The guy didn't want to be in charge of the bar again, but he said that he would train, you know, work with the next guy. And luckily, you know, I had somebody step up, thank goodness, because that's a huge thing. They've got to do some stuff way ahead of time with the laws and all this kind of stuff. And so that was interesting, because I hadn't, if somebody knew a lot about, like, the bar, I didn't know a lot about it. He had done it for 5 years, before. And so I'm like, you go. Mm-hmm. But then I would have the secretary of the parish call and ask me, has so-and-so, you know, is the person in charge of the bar, I need the list of alcohol, you know, and I'm like, okay, let me get on that. So I'd call him up, and he's like, no, I didn't know I had to do that. I'm like, I didn't either. So, you know, there's a lot of learning that time. And then I'd call the first guy that used to do it, and he's like, oh yeah, he needs to, and I'm like, okay, tell him that, would you? So just, you know, catching balls before they were too far.
Right. A little bit about what you did to the binder and why.
The binder came to me with, it had some tabs on it for raffle, printers, you know, tables, you know, had a lot of different categories on them. Not all of the committees were in there, and part of what was in there were emails sent back and forth about, you know, people asking questions and answers and more questions, and just back and forth emails that were printed out and put in there.
So it was more of a record and
there
less.
There were some things from like 6 years ago, and a couple things from like the year before. It wasn't real consistent. And so when I went through it, I made sure that everything had the year on it and was like easily, like a note in the top corner of the date, which year it was from, and why it's in there. Like, here's the thing for the dishes. 2010, 350 dishes. I mean, you know, a number, and if that was enough. Or, you know, decrease for 2011. That kind of note as to why it's in there, how many, and
so the
just the changes
so the pertinent
for the
information.
Future. Right.
Yeah. Kind of created a to-do list and then matched it to a calendar. So that whoever followed you would have a much more detailed path to follow. Right.
Instead of saying, because everything was done with dates, like on something would say, you know, well, it was just a running record of that year. On April 7th, we ordered the dishes, you know, and that's assuming the dinner is April 21st. This year it's in February, so April 7th won't work. So instead of putting dates, I went through and said, you know, 15 days before the dinner, do this. 300 days before, start working on the theme. You know, number of days before the dinner instead of dates.
So you probably left it better than you found it.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. So through the